Hello everyone! As you probably know, in recent years architecture has moved far ahead, and people build more and more unusual houses that just blow our minds. Even if you live in an ordinary high-rise building, you should take a look at these architectural wonders. Sometimes it's impossible to believe that these buildings are not just someone's fantasy or some Photoshop picture, but they do exist in real life. So, in today's video we're going to show you the 10 most unusual buildings in the world. Let's get it on. Kunst Grass. The Austrian House of Arts is located in a very unusual building, especially for such an ancient as Grass. It's also known as the Friendly Alien, which seems pretty logical. There is definitely something alien and cosmic about this building. British architects Peter Cook and Colin Fournier created the project of this building. The museum itself specializes in contemporary art. Trying to increase the extravagance of this building, the creators abandoned the usual forms. The frame of the museum is made of reinforced concrete, and the facade is made of blue plastic panels. It also has a media installation consisting of a bunch of glowing elements that light up in the dark. So at night, the museum shines like a real spaceship, and in the day it surprises tourists with its appearance. Don't you think that the gizmos on the roof resemble some sort of tentacles? Free Spirit Sphere. Can you imagine a treehouse? Easily. How about a spherical treehouse? Anyway, inventor Tom Chudley sure can. Even more, he created a few of them and gave them a poetic name, the Free Spirit Spheres. Basically, these are spheres made of wooden boards and suspended on trees with ropes. To get into this secluded hideout, you need to climb a spiral staircase around the tree, then cross the suspension bridge and you're in place. Inside, the small houses are equipped with everything essential to a writer, a scientist, or an ordinary person who's simply tired of the city bustle. In addition to the round windows, which are perfect to watch the forest from a bird's eye view, there's a buffet, a sink, and even a pull-out bed for two. There are also sockets and built-in speakers, apparently for those who, even far from civilization, can't leave their smartphone. We'd like to visit this beautiful house. Grain Silo House. We know many of you as children wanted to live in some unusual place like a hut or a house made of boxes. Apparently the creators of these houses were dreaming about huge grain silos at the same time. So here's the result. Now there are a lot of silo houses all over the world, unconnected to each other. It's hard to believe that it can be so cozy inside a giant can. Look, there's absolutely everything you might need. The average area of this house is quite impressive, about 120 square yards on 2 floors. However, if you want to live in this unusual place, you'll have to seriously think about sunlight protection, so you won't die because of the hot weather. For these purposes, the tanks are painted in white, and of course a powerful air conditioner is connected. Altogether, it's just a small 2-story modern house, suitable for a young married couple or for a desperate farmer. Habitat 67. It's hard to believe, but this unusual structure, similar to a pile of huge cardboard boxes or some futuristic accommodation, was built back in 1967. An Israeli-Canadian architect named Moshe Safdie developed a residential complex specifically for the international exhibition Expo 67, one of the largest world exhibitions of that time, dedicated to houses and residential construction. Initially, Safdie, who was only 23 at the time, was thinking about this residential complex as an experimental model, but this pile of boxes was the beginning of a successful career as a world-famous architect. The core of this unusual structure, as it's not difficult to guess, is a bunch of cubes. To be precise, 354 concrete blocks, chaotically placed one on top of the other, together form a building with 146 apartments. In spite of the fact that the plan was to build an inexpensive housing, this complex is not really that cheap. Just look at the private gardens of the owners on the roofs of their downstairs neighbours. The box houses are in Canada's Montreal and still look futuristic even though it's been 50 years. A true view of the future. Geisel Library. This 6-story library belongs to the University of California and is located in San Diego in the south of the state. It was built in 1970, and actually you can notice in its appearance, it's so memorable that it was even chosen to be the logo of the university. There are many rumors about the construction of the library. For example, according to the enumeration, there's no 3rd floor. In fact, this is true. You might think that the creators were just afraid of the number 3, or, well, there's some secret room on the 3rd floor, but in reality, reality, it's much simpler. The third floor is designed for the hall. It doesn't have reading rooms, so it has no number. By the way, originally, this depository of knowledge bore the boring name of Central Library, and it wasn't until 95 that it was named after Theodore Seuss Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss. But we're not the only ones who notice the unusualness of this building. It's regularly included in the lists of the world's most beautiful libraries, and not only thanks to the facade, but also because of the phrase in the colored doors. It says read, write, think, dream, and seems to motivate students perfectly. Super slim house. Do you think that your apartment's too cramped? Writer Edgar Keret probably won't agree with you. His home, located in Warsaw, is definitely not for people suffering from claustrophobia, because look, it's so narrow that it managed to squeeze into the gap between two bigger buildings, and the widest part of the house is only about 4 feet. It's not a concept, but a real house, with an area of 150 square feet. At the same time, there's everything a person might need, including a bathroom and even a small working space. To slightly ease the life of the tenant, the walls of the small house were painted white, which visually expands the room. All the furniture inside is also white, and there's even a small window. Still, it's hard to believe that someone can feel comfortable here. Anyway, Edgar Keret claims that a narrow house is an ideal place for those who want solitude, apparently like him. House in a missile silo. Believe it or not, but some time ago, intercontinental ballistic missiles were launched from here, and now people live in this place. The house in the former missile silo claims the title of the most unusual underground house in the world. In this 52 feet diameter silo, there's a bedroom, a living room, and a kitchen, and there will be a concert hall too in the near future. Concerts underground, why not? The silo must have a pretty good sound, right? To get this premise for personal use, its owner spent $160,000, and probably the same amount of money was spent on all the changes. But if you think that buying a silo is not the most profitable investment, you're probably wrong, because this concrete cylinder in which the apartment's now located can last for several centuries. It seems to us this is a good inheritance, not only for your grandchildren, but also for your great-grandchildren. Bubble Palace. Despite the name, this house wasn't built in order to blow bubbles. This unusual building was created specifically for French fashion designer Pierre Cardin back in 1989. Nowadays, the famous designer doesn't live here anymore, and the house can be rented to throw a party or simply to live for some time in some of its rooms. Inside the building, with an area of over 92,000 square feet, there's a swimming pool and an outdoor area for 500 people overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. It might be easy to get lost in all these semicircular halls, but it will only add a couple of extra points for coolness to your party. Futura. Here's another house in our list that comes from the 60s, but this time from Africa, and before that it was developed in Finland. You have to agree, this is a rather long trip for a piece of real estate. London artist Craig Barnes, who wanted to realise the dream of his childhood, delivered one of the abandoned plate houses to the capital of Great Britain and took up its restoration with the tenacity that only creative people have. We must say that the result was impressive. Now Barnes has his own cozy spaceship with a bedroom, a bathroom, a tiny kitchen and 6 comfortable folding seats, as it should be an intergalactic transport. Although the house still remains a house and is not yet going to conquer nebulae and distant constellations, but it looks very, very impressive. Today, this space plate is located on the roof of St. Martin's College and is open to visitors once a month. If you're in London, don't forget to visit it. Underground refrigerator. Perhaps any house can be unusual if you add some amazing details to it. For example, instead of your usual refrigerator occupying quite a lot of space in the kitchen, use land. This idea came to the craftsman from the company Veltavry. Yes, the invention itself is not an innovation, but its realization deserves a bit of your attention. The sealed waterproof capsule is decorated with wood and equipped with ventilation inside and is able to replace about 20 refrigerators thanks to its size. Yes, you heard right. Imagine how many different goodies can fit in there. Besides, without using any electricity, the temperature inside is 10 degrees Celsius, even on the hottest summer day, so it's basically a real gem for any home. Well friends, did you like these houses? If you did, give us a thumbs up, and if you've ever wanted to live in one of them, tell us in the comments. If you haven't checked Jelly Gummy Bear's channel yet, you should do it right away. You'll certainly like all the funny experiments with the jelly bear, cool life hacks, awesome homemade stuff, and exciting adventures that are waiting for you on the channel. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks, and we'll be right back to you as fast as we can.